So this is part two of what I just filmed, okay? And here's the journey of my life, okay? I've said this many times over the years. I knew as a younger kid, even before going to kindergarten, what's wrong with the adults. They say this, but they act like this, right? Maybe they're not really grown-ups, or maybe they're dishonest. And it didn't make me crazy about trusting adults or anything like that. Like, I spent a lot of time talking to a counselor in high school, but the things we talked about, I can't even remember. If they were, in this subject, this subject, this subject. I think maybe I was happy to be heard, witnessed, somebody with listening skills that sometimes I doubt would betray that or not, because I don't know, maybe I thought he was an homosexual, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but he never did anything inappropriate. That could be one of the only good things I have to say about La Commission Scolaire des Draveurs. There's a couple of good teachers here and there, but they were getting more unhealthy because they were in a systemic issue of immature children as their peers and coworkers, right? And then when I worked for that school district after, I saw some of the worst kids I knew as a kid became teachers and principals. And I tell you, most of the principals I saw there were, again, adult children. So there's also the fact that the mom in this story got abused, and yet somehow nobody talks about the existence of contraception. And she has 5 kids with an abuser, and then changes abusers, if I heard the story right. He's the first person who was an abuser of hers. So for me, growing up, like in my teens, 20s, 30s, if somebody asks, why don't you have kids, well, I don't think I'd be a good dad, or I have no reason to believe I'd be a good dad. And by the way, there was no sexual abuse in my story. But I knew I needed skill sets, right? And it was only after the life skills coach training and all the other kind of personal development I did, both receiving counseling, taking counseling courses, offering counseling to others, and even teaching counseling skills. But not at the end of all this, but even before that, after the life skills coach and some more personal development, I realized, okay, I'd be a good dad now in my 30s. And I also went from working more with adults to working with kids, and saw how much I enjoyed that. It was rewarding. And with the age group of 3 to 5, being a life skills coach was really something that was beneficial for them. And it made me proud. It made me proud to be the adult that I never met anywhere when I was a kid. Never met in my family, at schools, or friends' parents, or whatever. So when I knew I'd be a good dad, I was then not meeting women I thought would be a good mom. And that includes moms that were moms. And then there's also the fact that you needed to be in a healthy community, right? If you're going to raise kids, where is this healthy community? I haven't found it. Eventually got a vasectomy, and that's it. I never had kids. But I tell you today, the 2 things I pursue the most, if I survive these medical situations I'm having right now, is to work with either kids of that age group, 3 to 5 more, or younger, like elementary school, or animals. Both would be cool. There's ways to combine both too sometimes, where you do kind of field trips, and let's say you work more with animals and you go to schools, or to introduce animals, or you work in a school and you also do a lot of field trips that include places with animals, or places that are field trips that include learning about that. But Work BC, another very systemically screwed up organization, says, oh, there's so many things on your resume. you should be able to get a job now. But of course, it doesn't include getting jobs with animals or kids of that age group. Not easily, anyways, and not in a role where I would be a bit superior than me. So, again, hearing this, do you think I believe that I still live in extremely uncivilized proto societies?